right, welcome to the AIS podcast. This is a solo pod today, and we're going to be running down just some general remodeling tips and tricks type stuff. And I might go off the cuff because there's no script here. We just talk, right? We just talk about the things we go through. And I will say, I'm just coming back from a vacation. We went to Cabo for a week, did some golfing, kids did some swimming, and it was very nice. It is the winter time right now, and it was like 77 degrees and warm and sunny. The golf balls were flying farther. It was a beautiful time. And, oh, Nate's coming. Nate, what's up, dog?
What's up, dude? Just finishing up our Tuesday sales meeting.
Nice. You gotta look at, I'll show you, like I built this morning. Like
Data.
Off of,
What's pulling your data?
Huh?
Where's your data coming from?
So you go into, so like this, for example, like this is our kind of just budget, you know? From here, you share it, you publish it, and then once it's published, you do it, you put it onto a server. So like I use Zed as an interface to Claude. So I give Claude access to this. Claude basically builds out this in like a static HTML. And it's all coming off of, you know, that Excel sheet. And then you just host it on a server and it live updates every 5 minutes, I think. So I can come in here and like I just built this out based off of last like historical P&Ls of what we're looking at for like overhead, variable costs, you know, seasonal. But then I'm going to go through with our finance controller. I'm going to go through with our ops manager, and we're going to look at projects booked and trends and like adjust all of these budgets.
Who's filling that spreadsheet out?
Me.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have time for that.
You don't have time for that? Dude, it took like 25 minutes.
That's 25 minutes I don't have time for. It literally, to build that spreadsheet, right? To make that way so I know exactly how I want it organized, I will overthink that same spreadsheet 150 different ways in the format and the columns and the, you know, the filters and all of the, I will overcomplicate that spreadsheet. That's what I'm trying to get at. I will make what you just did in that KPI, all those cool infographics. I'll do that in Excel. I don't need to web post it.
All right, dude.
The problem is, and here's the deal, like for different folks, you like to have different strokes. And for me, I get over like stimulated by the building of it. And I would rather just write it on paper and say, okay, what am I trying to do with this number? I just need to make a decision right now. I don't want to pull it up. Cause here's the other thing too. What I've done is I built a bunch of those and then they end up just sitting in the drive somewhere, clouded out with a bunch of other crap.
Well, you have to assign it to someone. Yeah. So like my ops manager is going to be in charge of that dashboard and all the data. And then his admin is going to be in charge of, you know, getting the receipts and job costing, doing the WIP weekly. And then it all kind of leads up, you know, to like this dashboard that I see to where, you know, I built what I want and then they're accountable to the actual data entry of it. Yeah. However you get it, bro, it doesn't matter how you get it, as long as you have the info to make decisions.
Most of the time, what's funny is like nobody needs a spreadsheet to get a feeling for something. They know what's going on. They're like, oh, I know I have a cash flow problem. Cool. Do you need a spreadsheet to tell you that? No. How do you fix it? Fix your progress payments, collect faster, take more upfront. There's a lot of ways, right?
We might disagree there.
I tell you to do what I can do here. California cuffs you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's only so many levers we can pull here. But my thing is like the indicators need to be clear so that key performances can be tracked, right? The whole premise of that acronym, key performance indicators. And those are like decision-making indicators. But then there needs to be objectives that are assigned and accountable to people so you can isolate the issue. So like if, like, for example, cash flow is running, you know, we're K of burn behind, you know, weekly. Like why? Well, sure, like we could adjust our deposits, right? We could change it to our design console and beef that up and collect more money up front to, you know, get a little overbilled. But I'd rather dive deeper into like, okay, well, who's accountable for the receipts? Who's accountable for the cost codes on the job? Let's dive into the WIP. Let's identify the one person that is making this to where we can't bill for that 50K.
But maybe it's not that. Maybe that's not the problem. Maybe the problem is that you've used a finance lender that cuffs you by only allowing you to take performance draws on their terms based on the homeowner's approval. And on top of that, you've collected cash as part of the payment because the lender didn't fund all of the job. The homeowner is using cash.
Yeah, it's a bridge. Yeah.
Yeah. So how are you funding that? And in our old process, this is a real life situation where actually hash it.
I can tell.
But you got, let's just say like a lender gives you a homeowner can lend up to 50,000 and they'll do a 30-30-30-10 draw schedule. And the homeowner wants to, it's a $70,000 job. So they're going to give you 30 cash. When do you think it's best to take the 30 cash?
Typically, cash first, finance second.
But in the state, if you take more than 33% up front, you're breaking the general practice rule of thumb of collection. So if you take 33% cash, the remaining balance of cash that they have to apply to the loan goes onto the second invoice, which now ruins the sequencing of how you can draw from the funding partner because it's not 30% anymore. It's a bigger number. Now it's broken into 3 payments, not 4.
Why don't you do different stage funding setup, like 50-50?
Because you can't take 50%. And the lenders, a lot of those lenders won't offer you the opportunity to take 50-50. Some will.
So we usually do 50-50 on what's funded. And obviously we break out, it depends on the job, right? There's nuance there. But like we'll do our $1,000 deposit and then we order everything, we bill for that, which is usually 20-30% of the job. And then from there, cash will supply up till the final, and we'll do like a 50-50 for the last 2 payments. And we'll front load our invoice schedule to where like that last 50% covers the balance.
So you're not getting, where's the majority of your physical profit coming from in that invoicing process?
So we carry our gross profit across I mean, if you want to look, it depends how you look at it. It could be the last 2 payments are our GP on the job. But when we kind of do our accounting, it's kind of swept. Like if you have 100, like your income is 100%, right? Well, I know that 60% of that's going to be variable. That goes to the side, right? And I know about 20-25%, depending on the time, is going to be our overhead. That goes to the side. So now we're operating with 15-20% that is really our money, is how I look at it. So each payment that comes in, we're allocating fixed, variable, profit. And then on the tail end, though, if you look at it like just holistically as a full lump sum, the last payment, there's usually about 10% of the total contract value, which would be technically a part of our gross profits. And then the payment before that would bleed into that. So last 2 payments or so, if it's linear. But it depends on how you do your accounting and how you quantify it, right? Because you can make anything look like anything. Like if you give me $1,000 deposit, I could say that, all right, 35 of that 100 is mine, and the 65 remainder is going towards, OpEx.
Yeah, I'm talking about it from a general perspective for every contractor listening to this that can't figure it out because a lot of them don't even know they have this problem. They can't figure out.
Well, so for those contractors, dude, nothing's your money till December 31st, right? Like, in my opinion, like you have your salary, you have your burn, like what it says at the end of the year, your actual cash position in comparison to your net profit margin as cash. Like those are going to be 2 different things. Like your cash position and your net profit are going to be different, right? What it says on the P&L is not going to be in your bank. 1, you understand why. And then 2, like you got to live within your means. But yeah, I mean, not everyone has like accounting department and people working on that weekly. They do it monthly or quarterly or whatever. Anyways, you're saying that everyday contractor that is kind of in the weeds, in the business, what do they need to know? What do they need to care about?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is, are you actually like collecting progress payments? Well, I like to look at it as in a cash in, cash out process. That's how I like to look at it. And we don't have a cash flow problem. We have more of a ask for the money problem than we do anything. That's just because there's so many quick moving pieces that it's delegated to one specific person, and that person doesn't always know exactly where we're at in the phases of the project. So it could be 48 hours before they're aware of the fact that we're at that next step where they need to be sending off a request for money. So that's something we notice. But most contractors, I think, when they don't have cash and they're trying to figure out why they're like, all right, we have overhead expenses of, 15% and advertising of 15 per 12% or whatever they are, 8%. And we've got, all this standardized fixed cost every month, call it, $200,000 in overhead, and they know their average job size and they know how many they can produce in a week, even if they're all a little different. It's really hard. And I'd venture to say that people in the trades where they do multiple different types of scopes, not no one job is ever the same, have the biggest headache of cash flow. They may think they're sitting on a fat wad of cash because they've got collections, but it's not their
Yeah.
money, and they don't even have, and they're not operating a profit first mindset where they can immediately take their profit and stick it in escrow.
Yeah. Well, so I was actually gonna say I was gonna share something else.
Because that's what I used to do when I was doing bathrooms and kitchens and home additions. I was pulling a big chunk of it and then expecting, uh,
Yeah, it's important to know the aging of your money too, because yeah, the same thing. You'd be like, man, I'm so busy. I'm doing all this work. I have X amount coming in, but like and these are two different companies, right? So this is our tile company over here on the right, HTS, Hometown Stone, and then left is KHB, and you can tell the difference here. Now, when you look at it, there's 372,000 outstanding from Hometown. Now, a lot of that's retention. Like at some companies, as like a single trade, like you're doing a $500,000 commercial job. Well, 50K of that's held up for a year at least in retention. And then KHB total days. So this is like a cash conversion cycle that we track. So like we have 1.7 million that's out there that's owed to us. And at any given time, it's between usually a million to 1.5. And most of that is right here. There's 22 projects over 120 days aging in retention right now.
that's
And
ridiculous.
at KHB, huh? Because that's the terms of the public works jobs. They hold on to them after the warranty period's done.
Gotcha. I didn't realize you were doing that kind of work.
Yeah, yeah. So we do a lot of public work on the hometown side. Then KHB, like we also got to know, like, okay, we got 14 coming up. We have 30 that are within the payment range. And then what I look at is like 60, 90, 120. Like, who is this and why? Because we should not be having anything over 60 days. But once again, a lot of people fly blind. They don't know what they don't know. They think they're doing all this work, but
Right.
facts are, yeah, you did all the work, but doesn't mean you got paid for it.
Right.
You know,
No, and that's
and
the
so
thing. And then you add that in. Let's just take that 120 days of aging. Why are you on a job that long if your average job is 3 to 5 days? And what's taking so long? Are there change orders, and are the change orders compensating you for the time? Because if you do really actually look at how many physical jobs you can do in a year's time, even if you sub and you reverse engineer how many physical jobs you can manage with your current production staff, managing it, what your average pay should be or income should be off of those jobs. It's like, okay, well, add 5 days to each one of them. Did you still make the money you're supposed to? No. That's a significant difference in profit margin. So that's one slip. I think a lot of the smaller guys don't see or don't think about or don't want to think about. So they think they're profitable even though the job took them, let's say 5 days longer than it should have.
it doesn't math. Like no one's really tracking velocity. You know, gross profit over operating days. Because even like the cost of rework, like I don't think like the cost of a warranty. Like we just upped our cosmetic warranty to 3 years for KHB's premium package. The cost of that warranty is substantial, and that like going back to touch up paint, like that job might be an hour away. The warranty might take 30 minutes, but we just burned a whole operating day for one billable guy. Like that's huge. That's a huge
You don't
cost.
get that back.
That adds up. Huh?
You won't get that back unless you can
No,
make up.
no, you won't. We actually started. we're launching it next year, this like little internal referral program. Actually, I got this from you, Nate, off a few podcasts ago when you're showing me your good, better, best type pricing model. We're taking that approach on all of our offerings for each company. Yeah, very similar. Actually, can you send me that? I'll send you mine. I'll show you mine if you show me yours.
That's the front. The back is your pricing, your date.
Mm-hmm.
This is your today price. So these are different tiers of the deck that we're going to offer. Here's your price. And then this is the actual deck inspection. I mean, pretty basic.
Yeah. So we're doing a home checkup, like an inspection list for next day fix, which is kind of like, in a way, a lead loss. It's a value add, you know? And then for KHB, we have a general B and a C33 and a C54, so a couple trade licenses. But then Hometown also has a Gen B. They're doing bathrooms, they're doing kitchens. They're also doing commercial tile work in stone. And my thought was like, well, KHB, like we're on the premium side of pricing. We're on the premium side of usually our scopes of work are more upscale. Our finishes are more luxury, higher price points. So like we're the best option, right? But then there's still good and better. Like that market's 80, 90% of the market wants good or better, not necessarily best. And so we broke down our pricing with a barrier to entry of design.
Yeah.
Right. So like if you don't want design, you don't want to pay for that cost. There's a few contingencies, like it can't be a structural project because if it's structural, you need design, like you need an architect, you need to go through engineering, all that. But here's our full checklist and internal documentation that you should do for your own project. If you want to save some money, do your own legwork, check all these boxes, and basically we can do the project for you just as your contractor, right? And then the better option is we take care of, XYZ on that checklist, the selections, maybe the procurement of those things, handling the county, city for permitting, but you're not getting renderings, you're not getting full scale CD sets, you're not, all that's separate. And then the best option is like our full design suite. Our architect, we coordinate engineering, we do all the selections, renderings, county, city submittals, hand holding of the whole process, right? And so that's how we broke it down. And the good and better kitchens and baths, Hometown's going to get, because our management structure is cheaper there too. We only have one GM and then field leads, whereas KHB, being on the best side, we have superintendent, project management, operations management, operations admin. It's a little bit heavier. But yeah, I got that idea from you the other day when we were talking. I was like, that would work.
Good. I'll send you an invoice.
Yeah, please.
Honestly, like, I don't know why anybody doesn't do it that way. It's no different than, well, I'll be speaking at Job Trade Connect in January about providing quick in-home pricing and how we've created the parameters in Job Trade to be able to do that on our Design Elite series, on our Signature series, on our Enhanced Classic series, and on our Essential series. And it came down to understanding that, although you have 4 different tiers of a deck that you can offer, you still have to think about the fact that there's front end constraints that you really need to be able to iron out as well. If you had a catalog with materials that aren't accurate and the material costs aren't accurate, and you're going to go try and build out something in a cost, it doesn't work. First of all, second of all, you got to have a procurement process that's aligned with how you're going to sell. So meaning like the materials you're going to be putting into your production process better be readily available when you need them, not 3-month ordering, and then backlogged when you can't, and then custom. So all that stuff needs to be great. Execution of it, you need to have already well trained your staff as to how you're going to apply those materials consecutively over and over and over again. That's unique to your company, because if you're subbing it like us, well, if I hand a deck board to a subcontractor and tell them to install it, they're just going to do it based on the way they've done it before. And we want our projects to last, and so we do things unique. Things that we've found don't work well is if you miter certain products, the gaps look terrible. They do expand and contract. So we don't miter certain products. We straight lay them. Others we do miter, and when we do it, it's only in certain areas, but we charge more for it.
What about the heat and fold? I've seen that where like they'll almost cut to the front veneer of the deck product and then heat it and bend it. Is that a thing?
In an organic deck product, yes, but if it's wood plastic composites, which is basically your 25-year product, that's a waste of time.
Is it?
Unless you're charging a ton of money to do that. One, the homeowner never doesn't care. They don't see the value in all.
They don't appreciate
They
it.
don't know what that is. Like, we used to do a negative return on our skirt board on our stairwell for the riser, just like you do an interior skirt board.
Yeah.
Nobody knew what that meant. Wood plastics, as soon as you do it, they're going to expand and contract and twist and buckle. So it only looks good for like a month or two. So if it's PVC or like high end, like mineral based products, maybe, but I'm charging you more for it. So we've had to educate a lot of our staff here. And then, of course, in the production process, how we want that done. But then on the back end, like going through offering same day pricing, like I've got it built out with the 4 tiers, your salespeople have to really know it more than anybody, because they're going to answer to it over and over and over again. Well, does your, what about drink rail? Do you guys do drink rail on your Design Elite series? Oh, yes, it's included. Well, we don't do it on our Essential series, though, because that's a lumber deck. We're not putting composites on a lumber deck. So that's helped. And then bucketizing or creating revenue bands for those different, types of approaches. And then there's the one-off, like that's the Design Elite series. That's the, hey, I'm going to collect a retainer, trying to make you whatever you want.
Yeah. Well, I feel like what I'm getting out of what you're saying is productizing your service breeds predictability, right? And repeatability. Yeah. Like if you can productize your service, you can have a repeatable, predictable outcome.
Yeah.
Crazy. Which is, like I think everyone, because service, like the pinnacle is how do you productize a service, I've seen a bunch of companies put a fancy name on something, and myself included, put a fancy name on something, but then you don't stick to the parameters that you made for yourself, and you get yourself in trouble, right? Because as soon as you start offering that Premier Design Luxe feature in your Essentials package, well, now you took the predictability out of that package. You took the repeatability out of it. And now your installer who's doing this Essentials package deck, but has to remember or has to document or has to, produce this one custom feature, it throws a wrench in the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think about Apple a lot. I read an article where Apple has these specific units that they make for government only that have no cameras. I don't think they had any external ports or anything like that. Basically, they wanted it just like an enclosed device to where you couldn't take pictures, couldn't record audio, I couldn't export anything out of the USB-C, like nothing, right? And I was like, what a pain in the ass that must be, right? Because you're doing mass production on all of these iPhones, right? And you already have like the iPhone Pro Max, and this skinny one. This one comes in different colors. Like there's already a lot of like complexity in that process. And now you're probably doing maybe like a K run of this one special unique one that has all the same features, but different, external components. Like I'm sure that's a huge headache. I'm sure they charge a premium for it. But I bet that takes out a lot of the predictability in their line, when they get an order that they have to change up everything, and yeah. It's just tough on the custom side, and I think you probably speak to this too. You got to charge the premium on the custom. You got to make people pay for the value there.
A lot more than you think, actually. And what's funny is as soon as you show them what it actually costs, they stop with the custom conversation. They don't really want to pay for that. They just want that because they think that that's what they saw a picture in a catalog. And then the other guy that was there that told him he could do it for $15,000 less was willing to do it for that, but they just didn't trust him because his truck was leaking oil in the driveway and he has no insurance.
Well, I think there's a parallel between how we talk, the expectations set with how we talk, and the experience that's interpreted.
Yeah.
Like they have an inherent desire for a certain experience, right? And they hear luxury, they hear custom, they hear design, they hear this. The parallel of that is great communication, cleanliness on the job site, people show up on time, quality work is great. All these things are inherent in that type of packaging, But if you can break down the confines of that expectation of like, okay, here's your good, better, best. Like if you want the best, like this is what that truly costs, to have the great communication, have the great workmanship, have everyone here on time, have the job site clean. Like that's a couple extra heads here that cost money, right? Compared to the good option where we're still going to communicate, right? But like we're not going to send half the company at your beck and call to design this, to consult you, to procure, and to build when really all you want is a $20,000 deck. You don't want the $200,000 deck. Different process.
It's when I learn really fast and normally pick up on stuff really quickly. But before, when I was doing bathrooms and kitchens and larger projects, which what's funny is like we're charging just as much now for some of the decks we're doing that I was charging for a kitchen before, and it's like it's way more lucrative in this area because there's fewer guys doing it and there's fewer people educating on it in our market. But with bathrooms and kitchens and home additions, I had time in between each job. I wasn't taking 15 on at a time, and I wasn't looking at a job board with, multiple jobs coming through the pipeline. So I had the chance to kind of like, when stuff was coming at me that was a problem, research it, dig into it, figure it out, make the pivots and actually execute it. Now it's coming so fast. And I had to have manipulated into a productized solution. Dude, this camera is making me dizzy. I don't know how to turn.
How many projects did you complete this year?
Over 150. And it didn't pick up to, well, I didn't let go of it, put it that way, because I'll tell you, that's been the thing I've done the most of, is just try and over manage it so it doesn't get out of hand. And because it can, I could have done 350, 400 if I wanted to. I just knew that that's where things really get messy. And so every time I felt it getting messier, I increased our price.
I like it.
It stopped from selling, so it's harder to sell. So if I have to take another job, by golly, we're going to make a rip. And that's how I took it. And then I got the right sales guys around that. Now the sales manager around that. I don't even know. Definitely higher than, well, 10 to 20% higher than anybody else probably in our market, for sure. That's at least what we're being told.
That's where we want to be, though.
Because at the end of the day, if they really see the value of what we're doing, then great. If not, then I don't care. But I also know this, though, two of the companies that are working in the same market, I just found out they've gone up on pricing, which shocks me that they hadn't before. Knowing I watch how much overhead they have. Now, you don't know everyone's situation. Who knows? Maybe he's got a big fat SBA loan he's sitting on.
Yeah. Well, and it's something like what can the market bear? They see you over here, and I'm sure they hear things too, and they've seen your quote, right? I'm sure homeowners have shared them, just like they share, I'm sure, with you, right? Like homeowners, when I sit down with them, I have some that just like lay it out all on the table. They're like, here's this person's quote, here's this person's quote, here's this person's quote.
Oh, there's some loyalty,
ranging from 20,000 to 80,000.
The first thing I look at them, I go, man, you were quick to do this with me. Who's to say you're not going to do this with everybody else? So when's the next meeting? Can I hang out for it?
I want to be a fly on the wall for that. I tell our clients, even our prospects, like use our proposal as the benchmark, right? Because you have a 2-page proposal here, a 1-pager here. Mine's going to be 20 pages, right? It's going to be in great detail after the design's done, and you commit to us to write that. Use it as a benchmark, but I feel most people leave more, which is also a beautiful thing about productizing, is there's clarity in that. It's clear. Where most people go in and get in their 3, 4, 5, 15 bids, they leave more confused than when they started.
If they get,
because they're like, how can this deck be from 15,000 to 95,000? Like, how is that even a thing? Right? Like,
did you take note of what color car that was that just left your driveway? Did you take note of, was his shoe tied?
Yeah. I mean, it's, so I think there's a beautiful clarity in productizing as well, which is really cool. I'm excited to see how next year the impact on that is on your annual sales and your metrics on the sales side. Like if there's a tangible, 15% increase on close rate, that'd be really cool to hear of like what was 2025 versus 2026, Q1 to Q1, Q2 to Q2 since implementing that. Because that's really the biggest thing you're implementing next year, right? Or I think you already have. It's going to be your first full year though next year.
I think our biggest move for 26 secrets, but well, I'll just allude to the basics of it. A call center, inbound call center, making outbound calls.
Yeah. Phone canvassing.
Some, yeah, there's some
Yeah.
AI, but
Okay.
yeah, it in a much more aggressive way than our market really can bear, I think. But to change and adjust the experience, we have shooken this market aggressively with first and foremost what was the one call close, and now everybody's doing it. And now the homeowners are sick and tired of it. And they straight up tell us, like, if you guys are gonna come out here and like force us into something, don't waste your time. And I'll go, huh, that's crazy. Just out of curiosity, what would lead you to believe that? That's our process. And they go, well, we just had, you know, deck builder A, B, and C out here. And I'm like, okay, cool. So you have talked to the other guys that are out there, and I've heard they do that. That's quite aggressive, I can say. But let me ask you, was their deal so great while they were there trying to pressure you into it that it made sense for you to buy, or was it just overall slimy? And they're like, even if it was great, we don't work that way.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, not to say we don't still have that falling in our lap half the time, mainly just because we're better fit overall, but the other companies doing it are doing it out of pure pressure to have to, because they're starting to see they're not getting the deal unless they do. So,
Yeah. Well, Ed, when you're showing up and you're organized, you're productized, you have a price that's transparent and in front of their face by the time you leave that house, and you're leaving with a check, I imagine, most of the time. Let's say 60, 70% of the time. So if they don't get their opportunity when they're there, they know that homeowner is going to call the competitor, you, and you will get that job, you know,
or I'll make
which
the
I'm sure
offer.
breeds a lot of scarcity in their mind.
I'll just, I will tell a homeowner if I really want the job, that's the case. A lot of times they'll straight up tell me, like, you're $10,000 more. I'm like, okay. So even if I could, which it probably doesn't make sense for us to waste this time, but even if I could sit down with you to offer you a price match guarantee and $1,000, if you were to come up with this actual estimate and us go through it and line by line show what's different, would it make sense? And a lot of times they're like, for $10,000, sure. I'm like, yeah, but what's the likelihood of us finding out that these aren't even the same projects? And most of the time, homeowners are like, no, they weren't even quoting the same thing you're quoting. So am I really $10,000 different then? Or did you just make that number up? Literally, they just pulled that shit out of their head, and
Yep.
it doesn't apply. So technically, if you want me to do the job they're gonna do, then I would need to come back out there and talk through how they were doing it and using the materials and shortchanging you on the stuff that they're shortchanging you on. And I'll do that if you want me to, but you're not getting the same
So
thing.
what type of clients are you saying no to? Like you go there for the
A
consult,
lot
and
of
at the
those.
end of it, you're like, we're not a good fit.
Well, the truth is, I'm not selling, so I'm having to sit here in these sales meetings and dig deeper on those conversations and find out who of those types of clients are we trying to push forward. And I mean, sales guys are sales guys. They're going to try and close the deal regardless. They don't think through that. So now it's more of a conversation about being considerate from the general manager. Hey, if you're going to push a deal through to my production staff over here on this end, think about how you're packaging that deal. Think about what you just had to go through with that homeowner. And now, what's that experience going to be like for our production staff to have to execute on? Did you just force a sale? Right. And if you did, what's the likelihood of it going well?
Yeah. Did you just set up everyone else for failure? Did you set us up for a 3-star review, right? Because that's just the person they are.
Yeah.
Even if it's 5-star service, there are people out there that will give 4 out of principle.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
those people are real.
Yeah. So, to answer your question, what are we saying no to? Mainly, we're not saying no to a lot. We are doing very, very hard pullback, though. And pullback being in the sales process. Look, here's the reality. We would love to help you and we can execute quickly on these projects, but we're probably not a good fit for you unless you see the value in these things and these details. And that's it. And being willing to say that alone, to me, is a huge differentiator. Knowing what you have. We don't need every job. Actually, I could tell you exactly how many I need. You know what I mean? Like, just pull the old calculator up and do your numbers, and it's not a revenue number, it's a gross profit number for us, and net
You
profit.
could have a dashboard for that, just saying.
They don't need to, though. I think it's probably, I don't even know. There's the big ass calendar behind me. It's probably written somewhere in there on that. Actually, no, those are all birthdays, and that's 26. Those are birthdays and holidays. Yeah. I just, I don't see, well, you're seeing my social media right now and the things I'm putting out there in the way of getting sick and tired of hearing all these coaches put all this shit out there that people need to listen up for, and make sure you're, do your job costing spreadsheets and make sure you got your marketing spreadsheet filled out for your marketing team. I mean, dude, let's face it. Most of the people asking for coaching right now crack me up because they're not even in a position to be able to think that far out. Like they don't have enough business for that to even matter. They need the
Well,
faucet to turn on more.
I feel like those people need a buddy, right? They need a battle buddy just to talk to. It's more of a companionship rather than nuts and bolts tactical coaching.
That's right.
I've been off social for 5 months, so I do not know what you're putting out there, but
Well,
I'm
you
sure it's
have,
good
huh?
stuff. Yeah.
Don't you
I
run a
mean, case
social
be
media
spoken.
marketing business?
No, I dissolved it.
Why do you keep
I
dissolving
dissolved it
businesses?
because as soon as they aren't solvent, I get rid of them and I focus on the next thing. I'm not going to keep doubling down on black if it's not working, you know? So, yeah, I mean, and that's actually kind of ties in what I was going to say is like, first things come first, right? Like, screw your marketing spreadsheet and your I would say whip is important, but even that, like, focus on the first things first to like just get to a place where you actually have a cash position to do things, right? To hire someone to do that thing or to implement a new piece of tech that takes care of a problem. Um, but yeah, just tracking things for tracking's sake and not one, knowing what to do with that information, or two, wasting time getting that information and not spending that time on the first thing, first principles of kind of, go get more business, go sell more jobs, go produce that work, go collect that money, like keep it simple. Yeah, everything is just kind of rainbows and sunshine after that, scale, right? And everything we're doing should be either accelerating a solution
Mm.
for an existing problem you have already solved or natively solving a problem that you haven't been able to solve before.
Yeah, we should take a caller. I'm looking at my phone. It's ringing because there's a guy that's, well, there's probably 3 or 4 DMs I haven't responded to as well. But
Dude, we should do a Q&A session. Put them on. Answer the phone.
you know
Let's
what I
do it.
mean? Yeah. It's Alex
Yeah,
Hormoz's
live.
little program now. It's we're just gonna spin it up. Answer the call. Hey, call in.
Dude,
This is the number. Call and ask your questions, and we'll dig deeper on it.
yeah, that'd be so fun. We should do that for next week. We could set up
Free
like
advice.
2 phone calls. Yeah, free advice. But yeah, I don't know, man. But yeah, back to the dissolving things. So my flooring partnership that was ongoing for 2 or 3 years. We couldn't spin ourselves out of the hole with it. And then with the acquisition of the tile company, there's a lot of shared services there. And it was like, how do you split that pie? And it came down to, dissolving that partnership and that business unit made more sense. Right. And so we did that. And then on the marketing side, like we have a few big clients for video production. Like we have one job a year that's like 60, 70K. That's like our biggest ticket. And then we have a bunch of like smaller, can you do my SEO? Can you help with paid ads? Can you help with this? Can you help with that? And it's, 3, 6, 9 month subscription type stuff. But it just wasn't enough. And it was spreading our attention so thin to the first things first. KHB is what pays the bills, right? Like all these other things were almost trying to catch lightning in a bottle, and it's so commoditized that there's not a crazy differentiator in that space except for reputation. Like I look at like Eddie, right? Like at CE. His differentiator is he's really good at what he does and he's been doing it a long time and he has a great reputation. Like you could get more business with that. But for us just getting into the market, and especially with the AI boom too, it's like video editing in 5 years, it's not looking great for video editors. Sorry, David, love you, but he understands that too. Copywriting, SEO work, like all of these SaaS tools are turning into agents that you can do it yourself pretty quickly here. So the writing was on the wall, dissolved it, and then just focused on first things first, which is internal build out of like those dashboards and stuff, right? Like we really accelerated all of our processes with native AI. right? Like not paying for a chat GPT and using a chat GPT. Like this is like native. Like we have our own server. We build our own shit, and doing SaaS solutions to everyday problems that we have. So yeah, I wouldn't say we repurpose the marketing side of things. But yeah, I think everyone could do that. It's almost like we had another guy who would make a great shop manager, right? He was in the project management side. Um, but it's like, well, instead of keeping him as a project manager and trying to like kind of force it a little bit, like let's bring things in, let's get more first things first. Like logistics is a problem, you're a solution. Let's put you in that hat. Like we're not gonna we're not gonna just like cut off the arm. Let's repurpose it.
Yeah.
So that's my theory around it. Everyone has value essentially. It's just what are they working on?
Yeah.
Are you still coaching, by the way?
I haven't coached in, well, there wasn't really a coaching.
Yeah, it wasn't.
That wasn't a thing. I think that lasted a month in the conversation of it, but no, I don't have time for that, man. Honestly, the time I have right now is spent specifically on paving detailed processes here for the bigger roles that are evolving. I've got in this new office that is set up here, I have in this room here, I have a full 80-inch screen, full videography setup to do all of my training for our SOPs. And then the classroom that's out there will be set up and they'll sit and I'll be part of the training for the first few. But once it's launched, then I don't need to be there. It's all on camera.
So what's your next biggest hire?
It's not really a big hire. They're just more of them, more project managers and more sales staff. I mean,
Okay.
we have,
So you're not going for like a COO or a CFO, nothing like top down.
we don't need all that yet. It's this simple business. I don't have a need for that. I mean, I've got a great set of, um, well, I've got relationships with multiple different financial, advisories. So as far as wealth advisory, I have a really good relationship with them. And then of course the, professional accountants that manage the stuff, I think they're all integrated, working well together and know their lanes and don't step on each other. That took 4 years to build though. I mean, I went through 9 accountants to do what I've done to have it set up the way I have it set up, because the first few were like, you can't charge that much. Okay, watch me.
Yeah, you're not a business consultant.
Well,
You're
then they
my you're
saw
like
that I was charging and tried to go up on my rate, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but that's not money for you. You can't charge that. And they don't run in business anymore. That's not my only. I'm not the only person that told them that, evidently.
yeah, that's funny. They see your price, they raise theirs.
Yes, that's exactly what I kept thinking. I'm like, man, I keep seeing this invoice from you guys come through, and I'm like, I don't understand the concept here. And they not only did they stop, accounting services, but they've just disappeared off the face of the earth. So
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I think I see markets obviously opening up for what we're doing already. Now that I systematize stuff and productize things, it's way more scalable, right? But then I see, in the world of building and scaling, you're better off to acquire, in my mind, and partner with other companies. I think there's a few that see the value in the way I've done it. Whether or not they'll be willing to get out of their own way and consider the idea of partnering is the question. 2 of them have already said absolutely not. So cool. I'll just build mine and you'll fail as I build around you, and this is what happens. You know how it works.
Isn't that a fun conversation?
If it wasn't for my partnership with my marketing team, I wouldn't feel as confident in that statement. But I believe and trust and have faith in them to do just about anything right now. And I'm pumped about it because I can say like, no matter what, they've done it in other markets, and it is a slow process, but marketing doesn't kick off right away. I mean, we've been in a different market right now, marketing now for 4.5, 5 months, and it's been a slow rise. But
I think we're on let me see, a 4 to 6 month swing on our budgets. Yeah. So like, here, I'll show you real quick. I'll give away all my stuff. Let's see. So this is kind of how we've broken it down, like allocation wise. But and this is just tentative. We still have to go through it. But like our pipeline for our January spend, we're looking at mid to Q3. you know, like yeah. So I don't think people understand that either. I think they think, well, I'll just put out a meta ad and I'll get, 50 leads and then everything will be fine. And it's like, no, that's not how that works.
No, and they're not the warm, fuzzy leads you want. They're the shit can tire kickers that have also been in a Facebook group asking every other Tom, Dick, and Harry about a quote too.
Yeah, the best lead is the educated one. We found that 20 to 25 touch points on our website is kind of the sweet spot for our leads. Like they go to our website 20, 25 times, whether that's through a redirect, like we retargeted them and directed them back, through ads, or like some people just natively, right? And without fail, those are usually our best clients, because they're educated. They understand our process. We show up, they've already seen the podcast, they've already read our blog, they already read through what comes next. It's just so much easier. There's less friction there. They already trust us, really. I think that's the biggest part of marketing is, can you get people to like, know, and trust you before you ever meet them face to face? That's the ticket.
Night glowing, yeah. If you got all that, it's even cooler when you're like the person that shows up, which is really hard to do as the owner. But I remember when it was established in the other business when I was doing bathrooms, and I would show up, and I always felt like it would be like too far fetched to ever happen. But then all of a sudden, homeowners like, hey, I was just watching that YouTube video you did on that bathroom down the street. That was cool. And I'm like, "Oh, these people get it. They follow it enough to know that I'm like, you know, but it's different now. I mean, obviously I've got multiple funnels running different. They all come to us, and sometimes you can't even quantify where they came from because they did hit the website and they did come through social media and they did see.
Yeah, last touch attribution is always going to be an issue, especially with the FTC laws that are out there. Like you can't, like we used to have a pixel on our website that would just get everything from that touch point. You can't do it anymore. That was one of the big things with Eddie. I remember back in like 22, we were trying to figure out the last touch, or like what was the converting factor, like what got them to fill out that form, and it's damn near impossible to find out unless you're Google. I'm sure Google knows, the all-seeing eye. They see everything online, but yeah.
Yeah, local. I mean, you can ask, and then the thing is, like most of the clients, when asked, just out of curiosity, what was it that pushed you over the edge to call us, and how'd you find us originally? And they'll try and go back through the breadcrumbs, but they don't know, and it's usually
But it gives you a good heat map, If they're like, oh, I saw a YouTube video popped up. It's like, well, I'm going to keep doing YouTube videos, you know? Or I saw a post on Instagram. It's like, well, we always post on Instagram. Great, we'll keep doing that, Once again, like first things, like do the basic shit and you'll get seen. But well, dude, I have to button up. I have a meeting 2 minutes ago and I'm never late. But good seeing you as always.
Yeah, likewise.
And I'll see you next week. Get some callers for next week. Let's talk to some fools live. That'd be fun. Dope. I do. I'll see you.